Tina Forsyth here of OnlineBusinessManager.com. Welcome to the new year. It's 2010, the first video that I'm recording here of this new year. I guess it's actually a new decade too. I can't believe it. I was just joking with someone the other day. It seems like the whole Y2K fiasco and all that kind of, or supposed fiasco, was just happening a short while ago, and here we are 10 years later already. It's amazing. I hope this year is shaping up to be a wonderful year for you, and of course look forward to connecting and continuing the conversation with you at this, during this journey. There's something I was thinking about actually last night. I find this quite, for whatever reason, I was having one of those nights where it was kind of like, couldn't really get to sleep, have a lot going on right now, so a lot of wheels churning in my head and everything. And I got to kind of thinking about, almost reminiscing, if you will, about how fear kind of pops up in my life and where it has stopped me and where it could stop me. It's something I've actually been really, really conscious of lately. I've been making some big changes in my business, have some really big plans. I'm very passionate about 2010 being the year of the online business manager, getting as many people who are passionate and excited about being online business managers, getting them trained and ready to work with clients, and then likewise helping the business owners who need that help, who need to hire an OBM and get that kind of help, having them find the person that they really, really need. So, I've been working towards this and planning for this for a few months now. And I have to tell you, it's really interesting because, as is true of anything, when you take a big step in life, in business, whatever it is, its fears will pop up for us. And it's actually really funny. I was thinking about this last night, and then I got an email, an e-zine from my mentor, David Nagel, who had just sent out an e-zine this morning with an article talking about exactly this. I think it was called, his article is called Look Beneath the Mask of Fear, and kind of talking about where fear comes from and all of that. And it's quite funny because I found as I'm taking steps in my business, and things have really been accelerated for me lately. I'm doing definitely some bigger things and moving at a much faster pace. I have to tell you, it's almost hilarious when I can step aside for a moment and see how things are popping up to try and get in my way. It's like a few weeks ago, I would be really worried about one thing, and then something would pop up and that would be solved for whatever reason. And then something else instantly pops up in my head about, but what about this now? What if this happens? What if that's happening? It's actually amazing to me how fear can pop up. And I think the key thing, part of what I've really learned lately as well too, is that idea of, feeling fear is going to be part of the process. I've definitely heard this before in the past. I'll be quite honest with you. I've heard this in the past from various sources. I've heard people say it. There's that whole idea of feeling the fear and taking the steps anyways and all of that. But it's only been recently for me that I've truly started walking that path, that I've really purposely been looking at, okay, as I'm moving forward in the things that I really want to do, what's popping up along the way? What are these fears? Where are they coming from? And how are they possibly stopping me? And it's actually really fascinating. And it reminded me too, last night I got to thinking of, this was probably, it would have been over 10 years ago now when I first, my initial kind of step into this whole online world actually came when I discovered the coaching industry. And at that point in time, about 10 plus years ago, I really wanted to become a life coach and a career coach. It was something that really just struck a nerve for me. And I remember when I made that decision, I was really excited about it, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go to the coaching chapter meeting in Calgary. At that point, I was still living in Calgary, and they had a local coaching association chapter that would meet once a month. And I tell you, it was actually almost hilarious and almost embarrassing, honestly, to remember this, but I remember the night before that chapter meeting. At that point in time, I was working as a corporate job, working in marketing, had a good little, kind of safe, cushy little thing going on downtown. And to go to that chapter meeting was actually a really big step for me. Looking back on it, it seems almost kind of silly in a sense. It's like, well, big deal. You're going to a breakfast meeting. It's not like I was even speaking or anything. I was just attending. And yet the night before that chapter meeting, I tell you, I was like terrified. I had all these things popping up in my head about, honestly, I don't even remember what the specifics were. But what I do remember is, it was to the point where it brought me to tears. I spent the night crying a good chunk of time. And when I woke up in the morning, I had these big puffy eyes because I'd been so upset and all this kind of stuff. And I remember distinctly looking in the mirror that morning and kind of saying to myself, if you will, to whatever part of myself this was all, where these fears come from, the subconscious and so on. I remember looking in the mirror and going, okay, enough. You're trying to get in my way. It's not going to happen. I'm going to this meeting anyways. And I went ahead and went. to the breakfast meeting. And I'm sure I honestly looked ridiculous because really my eyes were poofy out to, anybody who's had a good cry like that, you know what I'm talking about. You get the big old poofy eyes and there's really nothing you can do to hide it. But, I remember going to the meeting and it was fine. I went, listened to some speakers, maybe met a few people and so on, right? So, but it just really reminded me of an instance where I think that was the first time for me where I really saw fear pop up and try to get in the way of something that I really, really wanted to do. And it's almost, it's kind of neat to look at where I'm at now, because believe me, fears are popping up all over the place, left, right, and center. And, I do believe that's actually part of what's indicating that I'm on the right path. I really do strongly believe that's part of how we can determine what our next best steps are, is, partially like what makes us most afraid, what makes us most nervous, like whatever it is that you're looking at doing. And it's really been fascinating too to have these conversations with people who are enrolling in the Online Business Manager training program that we have coming up in February, right? There's a couple of people that who I've been talking to and that have been enrolling, and a few people have said, I'm so nervous now, especially once they've made the decision to actually attend, and it's like, oh, I'm so nervous, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, that's a good sign, you're headed in the right direction. It's almost like if you weren't nervous, I'd be a bit more concerned, because you really should be. Feeling a little iffy about whatever your next big steps are. But I really encourage you to take a look at, and I'm going to be posting this article that David shared in his e-zine here today as well on my blog. Consider it. Consider where fear is stopping you in your life. And if and where possible, it's part of it seems to be just really starting to become aware of it. It's like when there's something you really, really want to do, something you really want to have, something you really want to accomplish, what's popping up to stop you? What's popping up to stop you? Whether it's fear of money, whether it's fear of, making a spouse angry, whether it's fear of how to create the life balance with your kids. Those are all things that quite honestly have been challenges for me, and that I've been working through over the past few months. And I'll tell you too, it's where I thought a lot of times where I thought these fears were going to be really big, icky things. They really haven't had to be, because I was willing to step through and walk through them. So would love to hear your thoughts on this. I definitely would. I just find it an absolutely fascinating topic of, where things pop up and how they get in our way and all that fun stuff. Would love to hear from you. Feel free to post at the blog. And of course, until next time, it's Tina Forsyth. Take care.